The media is complicit in covering up Fauci-gate. The media wants to investigate January 6th, but not a pandemic that cost millions of lives, jobs, and an election. Remember, Fauci got Biden elected. This virus kicked Trump out of office. Fauci locked the whole country down instead of just isolating the elderly, giving the Democrats an excuse to scare everybody into staying home so they could loosen election laws and mass mail ballots. Fauci shifted the blame from China to Trump. Members of our own government colluded with the Chinese communists to blame random animals instead of telling us the truth. And scientists exposed themselves just as greedy liars instead of truth seekers. Worried their funding from Fauci would dry up, they shut their traps and signed on to a fake consensus, a forced consensus. The real consensus was they all just wanted to get paid. The science was never settled. They play the fake consensus game with global warming. They just want the grant money and they'll spit out whatever the partisan bureaucrats tell them to. All the so-called experts were wrong. And you were right. Joining me now to react, author of Unreported Truths about COVID-19 and Lockdowns, Alex Berenson. So, Alex, what do you make of these Fauci emails?
Well, so Jesse, you know, there's a lot I agree with in your intro. There's a couple things I would push back on. I think what we know from these emails is that Fauci was very concerned about the possibility of a lab leak and of gain of function research. And I think it's really important to define a couple of terms here. It's not that anybody thinks the virus was manufactured in a lab from the ground up. What people think, I would say, what people who are skeptical of the natural origins theory think is that this virus was found in bats, probably in 2012 in China, and that in this lab it was engineered.
Right.
So there was experimentation going on to make it more dangerous.
Right.
And it probably leaked accidentally. Now, we don't have proof of that. I want to be clear about that. But here's what we know. Anthony Fauci was secretly very concerned about this in January and February of 2020. And the other thing I keep coming back to is you have to remember what the state of play was for all of us back then. We were terrified of this virus. This wasn't, a bad flu year. This was something that could kill hundreds of millions of people worldwide if the Chinese didn't contain it. They were talking about a 3 or 4% fatality rate, not 0.2%, but 3 or 4%. That could mean 10 million Americans dead, hundreds of millions of people dead. So Fauci knew this as well as anybody, right? He's getting information before other people. So he knows that even if he didn't actually fund any of this research, just the fact that he supported gain-of-function research and just the fact that he has this connection with this lab through Peter Daszak looks terrible for him. So what does he do? Within days of getting that email from Christian Anderson, within days of this conference call where we don't know what was said, but it was kept, it was kept in the strictest confidence, people on that call, like Christian Anderson, start pushing this theory that this can't possibly have come out of a lab. And Fauci knew what they were doing, and he helped them with it. That's also clear from the emails. And Peter Daszak writes a paper that the New England Journal of Medicine puts online in late February and actually asks Fauci, do you want to be, or someone who wrote that paper asked Fauci, do you want to be a co-author on it? That's how closely tied Fauci was to all of this, but he's doing it in secret. He's doing everything he can to make the lab leak theory look like a loony conspiracy theory instead of what it was, something that really needed to be pursued and pursued hard from the
main reason we're pursuing this, it's not for partisan purposes, it's not to get back at China, although they should be held accountable.
That's right.
It's so you know where it came from so you can prevent the next one from happening. And we should not be doing any gain-of-function research. We should not be doing any engineering of viruses to make them more deadly to humans. It's just too risky, and the proof is in the pudding, sadly. Alex, I got to run. Thank you very much for your analysis. We appreciate you coming on Water.
Thanks for having me.